we're going to get on to, weirdly, not Dave Meltzer, but we're going to get on to Bryan Alverez. So, there was a clip from the Bryan and Vinny show that was making the rounds on social media, where it basically seems that Bryan Alverez has sort of had it with AEW to a point. And it almost seems, when you listen to Wrestling Observer Radio, that Bryan's getting more exasperated with Dave Meltzer every week, and it always makes for really entertaining listening in that sense. So, Bryan Alverez decided to vent his frustrations, not so much with the booking of AEW in a microcosm of one episode, but the week-to-week cliffhangers or lack of them. Did you watch the clip, or do you want me to quote what he said?
Well, quote what he said, and I agree with him.
Okay, so where is the thread that connects all of these shows? That makes you want to tune into the next show. The big cliffhanger to lead you to Collision, a Dynamite cliffhanger that leads you to the next Dynamite, or a Dynamite 3 weeks down the road. It doesn't lead you to Collision. A Collision cliffhanger doesn't lead you to Dynamite. I like there's so many things going wrong here in the middle of like Tony Khan thinking everything's okay. Does that make sense? Am I the only one? Does anybody know what I'm talking about here? And then Vinny chimes in with, no, I get it. Yes, when a match on a good show ends, you should be, not just that was a good match, but also I can't wait to see what happens next. I'll fill in the next bit. Bryan then follows on with, yeah, what's next? And the two questions you almost never ask about AEW matches are what happens next and, man, that was a satisfying payoff to a long-term storyline or exciting chapter in the storyline or something. Stuff just happens. Yes, when every show is a great self-contained show, there's no incentive to watch another show unless you just want to watch great wrestling that night. Could you have skipped this Collision and missed nothing? And then sort of ends the clip.
I agree with him.
Yeah.
What has been my whole... Why do people watch wrestling? For the wrestling? Just for the wrestling? No. They don't watch it for the wrestling. They watch it to see a story or several stories play out with wrestling as the background. And he says self-contained episodes. They're good shows, but they just wrap it up and that's it. So if I'm a new fan and I'm from Norway or I'm from somewhere and I turn my TV on and there's wrestling. Oh, and in Norway, I've heard about it, but so I'm watching it and yeah, that's this and this and this. And then it just ends. You know, the good guy goes over. So, okay, I will be back next week, fans, but I won't be back. There's nothing to bring me back. I don't want to just watch a bunch of guys wrestle around in a ring. What's the reason that they're in there? What are they going for? Well, in AEW, I'm lost. I mean, their show needs some technical improvements. If you look at Raw and you look at SmackDown, my God, it's like watching a Broadway play and watching a high school musical without the music, really. Because you watch Raw, it's well produced and it's sharp and it's colorful and it's got lights and music but you watch AEW, the arena's dark. It could be halfway full, but it's still dark. I don't know why they want to darken the arena down. That's what you usually do when nobody was in the seats. You darken it down. But it's darkened down. Sometimes the whole background can be full and it's still darkened down. So I think if Tony Khan would spend some of his money on making his show presentable or more pleasing to the eye, like Raw or like SmackDown, I think it would help him a lot. But they don't. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here because they have several people hurt. Of course, CM Punk left. And some people are hurt. I got that. But even when they weren't hurt, they still weren't doing much with them. Now, you sent me a couple of clips and you're not going to show them, but we can talk about them. And what was that first clip you sent me?
There was one with Nick Wayne. There was one with I can't remember the other one. Oh, Dynamite Kid's nephew, who's also wrestling under the Dynamite Kid name.
What his name is? Tom Billington?
Yeah, he's calling himself Tommy Billington. We will get both to both of those quite soon. Because we're talking about the episodic booking, two questions. When did you learn to book to always lead to a cliffhanger to keep people watching for the next episode? And also, who, in your opinion, was the best to book in that way?
I'll say two guys that I learned from. Jerry Jarrett in Memphis, because he had the idea. He used to tell me, this is, and he would call Lawler, he's the shining knight protecting the kingdom. And all of a sudden, these big, bad guys come in, these heels, and they want to take over. Not said they're going to take over. They're going to beat Lawler, take the title. They're going to run everything. And then they would go through everybody. It's, formula. And they would do all these little vignettes about the guy out of the studio. And he became a character. Of course, they had Jimmy Hart as the manager. He could take a trash can and make it presentable. And then it would finally come around to Lawler. It's either put up or shut up. And Lawler would put it up, and then he'd lose the title. Oh, God, it's all lost. Now Hart is bragging. And now they start about a 6-week program. And then it leads back. This is the story. It leads back to Lawler re-winning the title that he lost 3 or 4 months ago to the same guy.
But then it never settled. Lawler didn't just have the belt for 3 months with no real challenges, did he? He would then immediately be challenged again. And then it would lead to the next episode. See what happens to the next person talking or whatever.
But what happened when he was chasing for the belt, another heel would come in about 3 months after the top one. And while the top one was dealing with Lawler here, the other heel was back here getting over, churning, getting closer and closer and closer. And as soon as this one goes, this one moves in. And it just rotated like that. It takes a little planning, but Jerry Jarrett taught me that. And another one is Ron Fuller and Robert too. They were great at story. And what I liked about Ron, you could go up to Ron, you said, Ron, listen, or Robert, I said, I want to do, this is what I do. I say, I want to do this video about me doing this outside the studio. Oh yeah, we'll do that. Because he trusted me. And that's how I actually got all my heat. See, and I got a lot of heat in Puerto Rico, the same thing. But how I got heat there was I didn't talk about my opponent that much. I talked about the people. I talked about the fans. Like Puerto Rican fans, I just burnt them. I would say that they need to be excluded from the U.S. and they don't need nothing. They need to give those food stamps back, and they had to learn English before they could get anything. And I called the guys basically gay, all of them. And I called the women like underpaid prostitutes. And after a while, people, they really started to really dislike me, almost to hate me. But it wasn't my wrestling that they were hating. They were hating me as a person. So they would come and pay money to see Carlos Colon or whoever else I'd go against. They would come and pay money to see if they could beat me up and kind of satisfy their need to see me get humbled. So.
And then you wouldn't. That would just keep on going.
I could get beat, because a lot of times I got beat, but that wasn't the end of the story that night. Well, then we just turn around and I'd hit Carlos with something in the face. He'd go down, and I just beat the crap. I let him pull the bullwhip off and wear it out on him. So The people were satisfied, but yet, who'd you say Alvarez was talking about the story?
Mm-hmm.
The story didn't end. The story continues to next week because we come back on TV that Saturday and replay me bullwhipping Carlos. That's a pretty strong figure. Some guy bullwhipping another guy in the ring, and we'd come back with some kind of a stipulation match or something. But so we went we set a record in Puerto Rico, 9 weeks in a row sellouts. Every Saturday night during this 9 weeks, and all the other little towns were, you go to a little town, it usually does with nothing on the wrestling. You do 150, 200 people. We'd be doing 1,200 people. We was jamming it out. So, and I told you what I made down there, right? Didn't you? We figured that up.
Wasn't it something like $4,500? Like was your best payoff down there for like a single event, or was it a week?
No, it was a week.
Yeah.
The biggest payoff I've ever had, other than WWE, for a single event was like $2,500. I
think we worked it out as like around $20,000 in today's money, so it's not bad for a week's worth of work. No, absolutely not.
I actually bought my first house on 9 weeks' work in Puerto Rico, so that's not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. Was that for cash as well? You didn't get a mortgage; you're just like done.
No, I don't. I think I had it mortgaged. I didn't want to give my cash up. I'm a cheap bastard.
I want to bring you back to AEW briefly, and then we'll. I've formatted this really badly. I've slipped in WWE stuff with AEW, but anyway, we'll just bounce back and forth, I guess. Something else I've heard talked about recently is, and this always used to happen in the NWA Mid-Atlantic when Dusty was booking. Let's say he was the champion or he wasn't the champion. Everybody who got up on that podium with Tony Schiavone or David Crockett, whoever, would always be talking about, I want a shot at the title, I want a shot at the champion, or I want a shot at Dusty Rhodes. From Magnum to Ron Garvin to number one Paul Jones. Everybody would talk about how they wanted to be the champion. And that's something that's really sort of missing from AEW for the most part, because I think Swerve Strickland's feuding with Christian and his little family with Nick Wayne and Killswitch. And that's sort of about it, really. Not enough people go out there from, John Moxley or Edge or whoever it may be, just gets on the microphone and says, do you know what? I really want that title. Even if they're not in a feud with Swerve or Samoa Joe or whoever it may be. That it seems a shame that more people should be talking about they want that belt all the time. That should be a
how many belts do they have?
I counted 9 at the moment.
Well, you see, why does your heavyweight belt stand out amongst all the others? I don't get it. Alvarez, I don't agree with a lot of his stuff, but he does say that the story is lacking. It's not. They got some great talent in AEW. I'll give them credit. Some great talent. But sometimes you don't see this talent for like a month at a time, 6 weeks at a time. You don't even know the talent is still there. So
where's Britt Baker? She's been gone for a year. I think Jamie Hayter has been gone for a year. That's 2 of the women who people loved and they just not turned back. I'm just looking at Wikipedia.
Where did Jamie Hayter go?
I think she got injured, but she's been gone for a year. So
yeah, but the good thing about that is she's getting paid.
Mm.
And Britt Baker, is she getting paid?
I presume she would be. Let me just tell you the titles at the moment. So just the singles men's, the World Championship, which is obviously number 1. And then we've got 4 undercard titles. And I don't know what order they are in importance to one another. So we've got the TNT Championship with Adam Copeland, the International Championship with Roderick Strong, the Continental Championship with Okada, and the FTW Championship, which is Chris Jericho. So there are 4 undercard singles titles that are all secondary. But I don't know which one is meant to be more important than the other, if they are. They're just titles floating out in the ether.
And nobody else knows either. Yeah. They can't, my title is more than yours or mine. After a while, it just runs all together, and you just lose interest. I'd rather not even a title be involved. Just guys, go out there. You don't like each other. One guy says something about you, from the ring, and he hears about it, and he could leave the ring and come up and said, "What did you say? Why? Somebody, whatever," and start it right there at the desk. That's different. Do it in a different way. But what's happening in AEW, and I've said this before, you can't book 4 shows. Isn't that what Tony's booking?
Exactly, yeah. 3 AEW and a Ring of Honor. Yeah, that's too many shows to keep continuity.
You can book it, but it's going to be lacking somewhere. Because when does the boredom just set in? You just can't think anymore, especially in the wrestling business. Because I think you can do more with less, but I think Tony has like 160 talents under contract.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it?
Probably
and then
more.
they got rid of 10 or 12, which was unusual for them. But but most of the talent, they have talent there now I've never even heard of. So when they bring him on TV, he's been here for whatever, but I've never even heard of him. I never even heard of him off the indies. So that's what TV is for, is to get your fans acclimated to this one character, but you got to stay on that character. You can't have him on one week and then all of a sudden you don't see him again for like a month or 6 weeks. It's like a running back in college, say high school football. All of a sudden he has a good game, but then all of a sudden he's not in the next game or the next game. The next game, finally you're saying, well, where's that kid who damn rushed for 120 yards in the first game? Is he hurt? No. Where is he? Oh, he's standing right there on the sideline. Why aren't they using him? I don't know. Ask the coach. But see, to be a booker, it's not that hard to be a booker. Anybody can be a booker. I'll say, wait a minute. Okay, I'm gonna book something with me and you. Mm. Okay, I'm in a ring and you come in there and you hit me with a 2x4 and knock me out. Okay, that's an angle. Okay, the next week, you're in the match. I come in the ring with 2x4, hit you, knock you out. Okay, that's continuation of the story. So we both knocked each other out. So now we're back where we started.
Yeah, so we've both got a lump on our heads now.
Yeah, but the really way, if you knock me out and you're the heel, when I come in there with the 2x4, you run, and when I catch you, now it makes you a heel, and at least we got a little bit of a story going there, and just add to that a little more.
Hang on, if I run away from you and you're trying to hit me with the 2x4, that just makes me not an idiot. If I run away from you.
Yeah, but you're a chicken shit.
Okay, fair enough. There's one thing at the beginning I wanted to bring up and I just sort of forgot. This has all come about because of the last month, Dynamite's viewership has been hovering around or even below 700,000. So it's an all-time low for Dynamite viewership, pretty much. And there has been
Dynamite playoffs. Is on Wednesday.
Wednesday, indeed. There has
been 700,000 is the lowest they've gone.
No, they've done like 680 something.
I think they went under 5 a couple of times.
If they have, then it probably would have been because Dynamite was on a different day. I think that's pretty much the lowest they've ever been on a regular time. And it's now consistent. As I say, there was NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, they're hitting Raw, they're hitting Dynamite, they're hitting everybody. Even saying that, these ratings are really bad. So we don't know. I don't think Dynamite, as has happened yesterday, has had big competition, but we don't know what the viewership is as we record this, but maybe by the time it's edited, editor Chris can put the number down below here and then we'll figure it out from there.